China's car exports topping 1 million for the first time in June as part of robust trade figures, which showed exports hitting their fastest pace of growth in 4 months.
China's car exports just exploded past 1 million vehicles in only 30 days for the first time ever. That number sounds almost unreal, but it came from an auto industry that has become too big, too fast, and too competitive to stay inside China. Chinese brands are now pushing cars overseas at record speed, and the bigger twist is that more than half of that export wave was made up of new energy vehicles. So how did China suddenly export more than 1 million cars in a single month? And could this be the moment Chinese cars start changing what the rest of the world pays for a car? In June 2026, China exported just over 1 million vehicles, the first time the country had ever crossed that mark in a single month. The jump was more than 75% higher than the same month the year before, which turns a normal trade statistic into something much harder to ignore. Cars are not small products that disappear into a box on a ship. Moving 1 million vehicles overseas in 30 days means factories, suppliers, ports, shipping routes, dealers, financing partners, and buyers all moving in the same direction at the same time. A country can only do that when the industrial machine behind it is already enormous. For normal people, the number matters because cars are usually one of the most expensive things they will ever buy. When one country can send this many vehicles into the world this quickly, the pressure can show up in the price of the next family SUV, the monthly payment on a first car, the kind of EV someone can finally afford, or the reason a government suddenly adds a tariff before buyers ever see the cheaper price. For decades, China was the market everyone wanted to sell into. Volkswagen wanted China, Toyota wanted China, General Motors wanted China. Tesla built one of its most important factories in Shanghai because China was too large to ignore. The old story was simple. Foreign automakers went to China because that was where the growth was. Now the direction is changing. China is still a massive car market, but Chinese automakers are no longer satisfied with winning at home. They are sending record numbers of vehicles into the rest of the world, and the speed of that change makes the 1 million car month feel less like a milestone and more like a warning. Because once that many cars start leaving one country in such a short period of time, the question moves beyond whether Chinese cars can compete overseas. The harder question is what happens to car prices if they keep arriving this fast. The surge starts inside China, where the car market has become brutally crowded. There are state-backed automakers, private giants, foreign joint ventures, electric vehicle startups, battery companies, tech companies, and newer brands all fighting for attention in the same market. For buyers in China, that competition can be great because it means lower prices, more features, better interiors, faster updates, and more choices. For car companies, it creates a much harder reality. Too many brands are chasing the same customer. Every new model has to fight for space. A car that looked advanced one year can feel old the next year because another company comes out with a lower price, a longer range claim, a bigger screen, a smarter cockpit, faster charging, or a plug-in hybrid system that makes the older car look expensive. That kind of competition changes how companies behave. They learn to build faster, cut costs harder, launch more models in less time, and treat comfort, screens, design, and driver assistance features as things buyers should expect, instead of expensive upgrades. Once a company is trained inside that kind of fight, overseas markets start to look different. They are no longer distant places to enter slowly. They become places where the same aggressive pricing can be used again, especially when factories are running, suppliers are ready, and the domestic market cannot absorb everything being built. Exports become the release valve. If Chinese automakers can sell more cars overseas, they can keep factories busy, chase new buyers, spread their brands into more countries, and escape some of the pressure building at home. The record month came from years of China building too much strength inside its own car industry, then turning that strength outward. The pressure becomes personal when those cars land in showrooms, because Chinese brands often arrive with a simple argument: why pay more for less? That question can make every other car brand uncomfortable, but it can also make buyers start looking at prices differently. China can export at this scale because it did more than build assembly lines. It built the system around the car. A modern vehicle needs thousands of parts, and an electric or plug-in hybrid vehicle adds even more pressure because the battery, motor, software, electronics, sensors, and charging system all matter. If those pieces are expensive, the car becomes expensive. If those pieces move slowly, The car launches slowly. If the supply chain is spread too far apart, every delay becomes harder to fix. China spent years building those pieces closer together. Battery companies, electronics suppliers, motor producers, software teams, parts makers, and assembly plants can work inside a tighter industrial network. A company can design a car, source parts, make changes, and scale production with a speed that many older automakers struggle to match. A strong supply chain does not automatically create trust overseas. Buyers still care about reliability, safety, resale value, service centers, warranties, battery life, and whether the company will still be there years later when something breaks. A cheap car can get attention, but trust is what makes someone sign the papers. Still, the price pressure is real. Chinese brands are attacking the math of the car market. They are asking why a buyer should pay a premium for fewer features, less range, slower charging, or an older interior. They are asking why an EV has to feel out of reach for normal families. They are asking why plug-in hybrids with long range, big screens, and modern cabins have to sit in expensive segments. 1 million exports in 30 days suggests China has reached a level where its automakers can push that question into more countries at once. When buyers see more value in one showroom, they start expecting more value from every showroom. A record export month then becomes a pricing problem for the entire market. And the strongest part of the story is what kind of cars are leaving China now. More than half of the vehicles exported that month were new energy vehicles, which is the term China uses for battery electric cars and plug-in hybrids. In June alone, China exported 523,000 new energy vehicles. So this record was not driven only by older gas cars leaving China for price-sensitive markets. China's strongest advantage is now tied to electrification. The country has built a massive battery industry. It has companies that can make EVs at scale. It has plug-in hybrids that can reduce fuel use while keeping long-distance driving familiar. It has brands competing on screens, software, driver assistance systems, charging speed, interior comfort, and price at the same time. Years ago, some people looked at Chinese cars and assumed they were mostly cheap alternatives. Lower price, lower status, lower quality. That image is becoming harder to hold when Chinese brands are exporting EVs and hybrids that look modern, feel feature-packed, and undercut rivals on price. Most people do not wake up caring about export data. They care about whether they can afford a reliable car, whether an EV makes sense for their life, whether charging is practical, whether fuel costs are too high, and whether the car they want has become too expensive. Chinese automakers are entering that conversation directly. They are saying they can build electrified cars at prices that make older brands look slow, expensive, or too comfortable. If that pressure spreads, the buyer may feel it even without buying a Chinese car. A Toyota dealer may have to offer better incentives. A Hyundai or Kia model may need more features. A European brand may have to defend its price. Tesla may have to keep cutting costs or refresh models faster. Local brands may have to rethink what they give people for the money. The export wave can change expectations before it changes market share, and expectations are where car markets start to move. The cars are not all going to one place. Chinese automakers have been pushing into Southeast Asia, the Middle East, Russia, Latin America, Africa, parts of Europe, and other markets where buyers are looking for value. Some of these places have growing middle classes. Some have high fuel prices. Some have governments that want more electrified cars but do not have enough affordable options. Some have buyers who are open to new brands if the price is right. That creates openings older automakers did not always fill well. In some markets, foreign brands became too expensive. In others, EVs arrived slowly. In others, buyers wanted SUVs, hybrids, or small city cars at prices established brands could not make attractive enough. Chinese automakers are moving into those gaps with a speed that can surprise competitors. A buyer in one country may suddenly see a Chinese electric crossover that costs less than the familiar brand but comes with more equipment. A family in another market may see a plug-in hybrid that gives them electric driving for short trips without the fear of running out of charge on a longer drive. A taxi operator, delivery business, or ride-hailing driver may care less about badge prestige and more about monthly cost, fuel savings, warranty, and uptime. Those buyers can shift markets quickly because they do not need every person to change their mind. They only need enough people to start asking why the old choices cost so much. But the cheaper factory price is not always the price buyers get. Once a car crosses borders, governments get involved. There can be import duties, safety rules, emissions rules, shipping costs, dealer margins, local taxes, and political pressure from local industries that do not want to be crushed by cheaper imports. A car that looks like a bargain in China may arrive somewhere else with a very different price. In some countries, Chinese cars may give buyers more affordable options and force the whole market to improve. In others, trade barriers may keep prices high, limit choices, or turn the car market into another fight between governments. Either way, we are standing in the middle of it. Tariffs can slow the export boom, but the deeper obstacle is trust. A car is a serious commitment. People need it to start every morning, survive years of bad roads, protect their family, hold value, and get repaired without turning into a nightmare. A lower sticker price is powerful, but it does not answer every concern. Chinese brands still have work to do here. In some markets, companies like BYD, MG, Chery, Geely, Great Wall, and others are already becoming familiar. In other markets, the names still feel new, and buyers may wonder what happens if the brand changes strategy, leaves the country, struggles with parts, or cannot build a strong service network fast enough. A buyer may be impressed by the price and still choose a Toyota because they trust it. A family may like a Chinese EV and still worry about battery life. A business may run the numbers and still ask whether parts will be easy to find. A government may welcome cheaper cars for consumers, then worry about local jobs and decide to protect domestic factories. China's export boom has a hard path ahead. It has to win buyers, build service networks, pass regulations, handle politics, move vehicles across oceans, and survive a price war that could hurt Chinese companies themselves. When too many brands build too many cars, some will fail, merge, discount heavily, or disappear before they ever become trusted global names. That matters to buyers because a cheap car from a weak brand can become expensive later. Nobody wants a great deal that turns into a parts problem, a resale problem, or a warranty problem. The 1 million car month does not mean China has already won the global car market. It means Chinese automakers have reached a scale that the rest of the world can no longer ignore. Winning comes later, after the cars prove themselves in real life, on real roads, with real owners. Scale only gets them into the fight, and China has entered that fight faster than many people expected. The real meaning of China exporting more than 1 million vehicles in 30 days is that the car market may be entering a new price era. For a long time, buyers in many countries had to accept a painful trade-off. They could buy a trusted brand and pay more, or they could choose something cheaper and accept fewer features, weaker reputation, or more risk. Electric cars made that even harder because many EVs were priced like premium products, even when the buyer simply wanted a practical car with lower running costs. China is challenging that old trade-off. Its automakers are trying to make EVs, plug-in hybrids, large screens, modern interiors, driver assistance features, and long equipment lists feel more normal at lower prices. If they can keep exporting at scale, they may force other brands to respond in ways that buyers can actually feel. That response could be lower prices, better standard features, longer warranties, or more affordable hybrids and EVs. It could also be tariffs, trade fights, blocked imports, and higher prices that protect local industries but keep buyers from seeing the full benefit of competition. The more important question is, what happens to the person buying the next car? Do they get more choices, or do governments block them? Do prices come down, or do tariffs keep them high? Do older brands improve, or do they ask for protection? Do Chinese brands build real trust, or do they only win attention with low prices? China's record month does not answer all of that yet, but it shows the pressure is coming. The old car market was built around a few powerful countries, a few trusted brands, and a slower idea of change. China's new export surge brings factory scale, EV technology, price pressure, and aggressive competition into more markets at the same time. 1 million cars in 30 days is a signal that the next car someone buys may be shaped by a competition that started inside China and is now spreading outward faster than many people expected. The future of car prices may not be decided only by the brands people already know. It may be decided by how far Chinese automakers can push, how hard governments push back, and whether buyers decide that the best deal on the road no longer has to come from the old names.